My male teen mother left my dad when I was 10. She left us for a guy she met at the US Embassy. He doesn't work there, but was there because he lost his passport. I visited her at first, but then she cut contact with us after getting pregnant with my half-brother and didn't visit or have me visit for over 4 years. Never called me and never answered any of my calls. Then she came back 2 months ago saying that she thought her new son with her new husband could make her forget about me, but she still couldn't. She begged Dad to tell me to visit her since Dad got her parental rights terminated for abandonment. Dad told me I don't have to if I don't want to, but also said to think about it carefully. So I said, all right, I'll give it a try. He dropped me off, agreeing with my mother that he'd pick me up in 4 hours. I brought a book with me just in case I got bored. When my mother's husband saw it, he said, "You must be a retard reading a book meant for a 10-year-old." Then he drank coffee. I didn't even think about my words before saying, "Yeah, my English isn't as good as my first language. As I remember, you only speak one language, yes?" He choked on the coffee and sputtered. His son, nearly adult from his previous marriage, actually laughed at his ridiculous expression. My mother was not so amused, though. After wiping away the mess, she yelled at me for disrespecting an adult and embarrassing him. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Great job defending yourself. I hope you told your dad what happened and go to no contact with your mom. She's not worth your time. Screaming at you the first time you're in her presence after years of being absent. Nope. Your mother is a disgusting individual for doing what she did to you and your family and watching her affair husband abuse you. I would have immediately left after this comment. That's how he greets you. Nah, he and your mom can pound sand. Boy, if his son laughed, guarantee the dad's an idiot. His remark was exceedingly rude and you called him out for it gracefully. You would have been justified if you'd spewed insults. You didn't. You asked him a polite question. The fact that this question showed the stupidity of his remark is not your fault. If he looked like an idiot, it was because he was an idiot. Don't ever go back. She's not interested in having a son. She's interested in having a purse dog. Something to show off to her friends and make her feel good when she wants to. I'm hoping that is your first and last visit to that household. Definitely the last one. I told my dad an hour ago that I won't be going back there again and that I want no more contact with her. The near adult is Mom's husband's son from his previous marriage, not my mother's. As for the kid my mother gave birth to, I don't have a relationship with him, and he's not involved since he was in his room when this happened. Thank you for your support. I, 27 female, have a half-sister, 25. We share the same mom, but she cheated on my dad while they were married, and my half-sister is the result of that. Mom ended up marrying her dad after the affair was revealed and DNA was established. Apparently he wouldn't have married Mom if my half-sister hadn't been his. My parents shared custody of me until I was just about to turn 8, literally 2 weeks before my birthday, and then my dad passed away in an accident. I was at school and it was his parenting time with me, so I saw him that day. It destroyed me. I ended up living with my mom, obviously. I always knew about the tensions between my parents, my dad and my mom's husband. I always knew about the affair because my aunt, Mom's sister, was very open about it, and she would use every opportunity to call my mom and her husband out. My mom is still married to my half-sister's dad. He tried to be a dad to me. I do think he loves me. He claims me as his other daughter, all that stuff, but I still see him as not my dad and as the person who slept with my mom and got her pregnant while she was married to my dad. He does not get the fatherly role in my life now. Whenever I see him and my mom, I'm civil, but we're not close. My relationship with my half-sister isn't that close either, but I know none of this is her fault, so I try to have a sibling relationship with her. After I got engaged, she told me she couldn't wait to see our dad walk me down the aisle. That's when I told her it would never happen, and when she said it should because he's been there longer than my dad ever was, I told her it didn't matter to me because I would never be walked down the aisle by Mom's affair partner. She told me that was 26 years ago, and I said yeah, it was, and I don't remember it happening, but he does not get rewarded, and I'm not disrespecting my dad's memory like that. She told me I shouldn't be acting like this, and asked what I think of her when I hate her parents, especially her dad, that much. She told me I should appreciate him more for trying to be a good dad to me, and I always rejected him and treated him like crap. Am I the idiot? Edit, I haven't told them they won't be invited, but I really have nothing to do with them now, so I expect they'll figure it out. My mom is the person who told me that my dad was a bad person because he wouldn't have stayed with her if he was the biological father of my half-sister. She praised her husband for marrying her when he found out he was, but thought my dad was terrible for making it clear that they would get divorced whether he was raising one kid or two. She tried to cheer me up when Dad died by suggesting her husband meant I wasn't going to miss out on having a dad. She also called her husband my dad, and when I corrected her, she would get really annoyed with me. Then she said my dad was crappy for DNA testing me after he found out about the affair, which to me makes perfect sense. Sister has this idea that we can all be one family sometime, but that is not an option. She holds on to the idea that her dad is also my dad. That's why she assumed all this. Not the idiot. Choose who you want to walk you down the aisle. Put a picture up of your bio dad for remembrance if you like. However, they need to know they aren't invited. They might assume they are and that they don't need to receive an official invitation. Maybe in their eyes, as your parents, they're coming. I know you don't see him as a parent, but in their minds they probably think that. Send them a registered letter if you don't want to tell them face to face, or an email with a read receipt. They need to know they aren't invited. People who have zero relationship with the bride, even if it is mother and stepfather, do not need any heads up. They don't deserve the courtesy. It's not necessarily out of courtesy, it's more so they don't just show up and then risk causing a scene. Maybe you should consider bouncers. OP, your sister is an idiot. Geez, he's been there longer than my dad ever was. That's kind of a low blow, really. It's not like your dad chose not to be in your life. He died. This is such an exhausting BS situation when people demand that they be honored for roles they don't occupy. Walk yourself. Have someone you love walk you. Shoot, you can walk down the aisle with a pet alligator if you want. She had a different life experience than you, and she doesn't get to dictate how you feel or that you get some debt of gratitude to your mother's husband. OP, I think this is beyond an idiot assessment. You have some trauma from your father's death and lingering anger at both your mom and stepfather. While yes, your stepfather is technically the affair partner, it was over 2 decades ago. That's a long time to be holding on to such strong emotions. Before you walk down the aisle yourself, you should get into therapy to process those emotions. You don't want to carry them forward in your life or your own marriage. I'm currently in a leg and arm cast due to an accident, so I temporarily moved back home with my parents and my younger sister. My parents are currently out of town, so it was just me and my sister. My sister has a tendency of leaving her keys behind or losing them, and usually we have to open up for her. She was going out to a party Friday night, and I wanted to triple check that she had her keys before she left. Surprise, surprise, she left the keys behind. So she called me at 3 a.m. intoxicated and told me to open up for her. Getting up was a mission in my condition, and I'd warned, so I told her straight up that I wasn't coming downstairs to open for her, so she should call a friend and stay there for the night. Hung up, then put my phone on DND. She screamed my name for a while until one of the neighbors told her to stop, so instead of calling a friend, she decided to sleep in the old dog bed outside. I found her there in the morning and woke her up to get inside. She angrily yelled at me for making her sleep in the dog bed. She also found a tick on her later and blames that on me too. We've been fighting over this, so here we are for some impartial voices. I feel bad that she slept outside, but I also feel that that was a poor choice on her part. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, you didn't make her sleep outside. She chose to sleep outside instead of trying to call a friend or remember her keys. This is on her. You told her to check and she didn't. If she's old enough to be out getting intoxicated, then she's a damn adult. A 10-year-old can remember their keys for coming home from school, and if she called you, she easily could have called someone else. I've been disabled in that way, and getting up the stairs took 10 minutes of solid, careful effort that hurt like heck, regardless of how careful I was. Once I was up, I was not coming down. The sister is having a learning experience. If everyone wakes up and lets her in, regardless of whether or not she has her keys, it gives her no motivation to make absolutely sure she has them. No, that wasn't fun for her. Maybe now she'll remember to take her keys. I disagree, you are the idiot, OP. I don't think it's reasonable to leave an intoxicated person on their own in that kind of situation, even in your injured state. Even if you couldn't reasonably have gotten up, I think you shouldn't have hung up and should have remained in contact with your sister until a friend had picked her up or you determined it was safe for her to sleep in the dog bed until morning. I could never leave my sister locked out of the house when I was inside. If it takes 10 minutes to get downstairs, it takes 10 minutes. I can't see this as anything but heartless. For real, I cannot ever imagine doing this to anyone. Never mind my own sister. OP, you are a monster. You state that you weren't able to go down and open the door the previous night, but had no issues doing it in the morning. Why? Was it really due to your injury or the fact that it was a mild inconvenience? As others have said, it's not safe to leave an intoxicated person like that outside. She's your sister, and they took you in when you needed their help. Before you come at me, I've actually had surgery and was in a cast for 2 months with minimal mobility and would have opened the door for my sister if I was in your place. My wife, 38, and I, 38 male, have 2 kids, a preschooler and a little older. A little over a week ago, my wife came down with a virus that won't be named. No one else in the family has gotten sick, we've tested multiple times, and we've pretty much secluded my wife in our bedroom. I've been doing my best to keep things in order, and I like to think I've been doing okay. My wife has told me multiple times during the past week how grateful she is for me taking care of everything while she's sick, and how I deserve a break to do something for myself once she starts to feel better. Yesterday morning, my wife woke up feeling much better and finally tested negative, and by the end of the day she had no symptoms. She kept herself in our room most of the day just to be safe, but she didn't require me to take care of her like I had been the previous few days. Last night she thanked me again for all that I did and said I deserved to take some time for myself. I told her I'd been thinking about that, and said I would like to stay home by myself this coming Saturday to have some peace and quiet. The issue is that Saturday is her family's Thanksgiving gathering because people have other plans for Thanksgiving Day. She didn't like my idea one bit and told me that I couldn't skip her family Thanksgiving just because I wanted to have a quiet day at home. I told her that she told me multiple times to take some time for myself, and due to our schedule and other family commitments, this Saturday is the best chance for me to have time for myself until after the new year. Her issues are that it's a long drive to her parents' house, 3 hours, and they don't have space for us to stay overnight. She doesn't want to make that drive with both kids by herself. She also doesn't like the idea of me skipping a family gathering for no real reason other than wanting a break. We argued about it, and I told her that I don't like that she told me to find some time for myself, only to go back on that and make it seem I have to find time that is convenient and acceptable to her. I told her I didn't want to wait another 6 weeks to get time for myself. She asked me what I would do if I stayed home, and I told her I'd probably just stay home in pajamas, watch college football, play video games, and maybe pop a couple of edibles. That set her off even more, and she told me that if that's how I'm going to spend that time, then I need to come to her family Thanksgiving and find a more suitable time to do that sort of thing. She feels it isn't fair to stick her with the full stress of taking the kids on a long drive to a family gathering without me there to help. I told her that if I'm only allowed to take time for myself when it's convenient for her, then she shouldn't tell me multiple times that I deserve a break. I know if I just stayed home, she'll be angry. But she's skipped family gatherings on my side before, and I've never guilted her about it. Once she was burnt out from work and wanted a rest day. The other time she just gotten home from a friend's funeral and wanted a day at home to decompress. Both times I supported her decision. So, am I the idiot? Edit, I'm Indian. For a little context, my father-in-law insisted on giving a toast at our wedding and thought making a joke about how his daughter married the only Indian who isn't a doctor would be funny. I will put this as politely as I can. Her family and I tolerate being in the same place for short periods. Not the idiot. There is clearly a toxic dynamic surrounding your extended family involving racial issues, and your wife is not respecting the fact that you need time to rest. The nail in the coffin, however, is that your wife has skipped out on your family gatherings due to her being burnt out or mentally unwell. So why are you not able to do the same? You've done so much for me, you should take some time off for yourself, but do it under my terms, when it's convenient for me and meets my approval. I don't understand everyone acting like 3 hours each way is an impossible road trip to do with your own kids. Dude, if you have money for edibles, you can pay for a hotel for her for the night so she doesn't have to drive 6 hours round trip. You need couples counseling at the very minimum. For now, hold your ground about this Thanksgiving. If you don't, it's only going to be harder to do so in the future. Buddy, at what point will you decide to grow a backbone? You shouldn't have to be exposed to this. More importantly, your children should not have to be exposed to it. I can't believe that a spouse who loves and respects you and who loves and feels a normal amount of protectiveness towards their children would allow this to continue, let alone demand that it continue.